tonight with Peter Jennings, Max Robinson, and substituting for the vacationing Frank Reynolds from our desk in Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. If there was one bright spot amidst all the gloomy economic news last year, it was inflation, or to be more precise, the lack of it. Government figures released today show that in December, the Consumer Price Index went down 0.3%. That decline contributed to what turned out to be the lowest yearly inflation increase in 10 years, just 3.9%. Economics editor Dan Courts has more.
For a family earning $400 a week after taxes, or about $21,000 a year, here's what happened last year to the 7 monthly budget items for which the government collects figures. The cost of food rose from $288.60 to $297.90, including restaurant meals and alcoholic beverages as well as groceries. The cost of housing climbed from $757.75 to $785, with lower mortgage fees and repairs partially offsetting higher house prices and fuel bills. Clothing edged up from $75.80 to $77.10, including cleaning, laundering, and repairs. Transportation expenses rose only from $317.80 to $323.25, mainly because gasoline prices went down over the year. Medical bills jumped from $80.10 to $89, including premiums for health insurance. Entertainment fees went from $59.10 to $62.35 for the average family. And the cost of other goods and services, everything from cigarettes to school tuition, shot up from $66.25 to $74.25. Administration spokesmen were quick to hail the inflation news.
Oh, that's extremely good news, that it's now down below 4% for the year. That's the lowest it's been since 1972. Really shows that we have inflation under control.
But private economists caution that the CPI did exaggerate the inflation improvement somewhat.
The current numbers are overestimating the improvement of inflation because it's overstating how important declines in housing costs really are.
In another bit of good news, the government said new orders received by manufacturers of durable goods shot up 12% in December, the biggest monthly rise on record. And even though most of the gain was generated by defense orders, experts call it another sign that the recovery may be underway. But none of that impressed Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged almost 18 points to close just below 1053, largely on worries that budget deficits may push interest rates up again later this year. Dan Courts, ABC News, New York.
Well, California's budget deficit could cost that state millions more next year. And today, some of the effects of the recession and Proposition 13 appear to catch up with California as Standard & Poor's lowered its bond rating from AA+ to AA. Ken Kashiwahara reports.
California's bond rating was lowered because the state is broke and because the new Republican governor and the Democratic legislature can't agree on what to do about it. The lower bond rating means the state may have to pay bond investors an additional $3 million a year in interest for such projects as prisons and schools. And California already faces a $1.5 billion budget deficit. 5 years ago, the state had a $4 billion surplus before Proposition 13 cut property taxes and tax revenues. But today, Howard Jarvis, leader of the tax revolt, said it's not his fault and endorsed the lower bond rating.
Maybe this will bring some sense to the state government to stop going into debt.
California's new bond rating reflects the financial community's unhappiness with Governor George Deukmejian's plan of budget cuts and borrowing and with his refusal to support a tax increase. But today, Deukmejian said the lower bond rating is not as bad as imposing a $1 billion tax increase on California residents.
I think that they have demonstrated over the last 5 years through their direct votes that they don't want increased taxation.
But the governor's plan is already under fire. Today, University of California students protested a hike in student fees, which the Board of Regents adopted to help lower the budget deficit. And taxpayers are beginning to complain, too, over the possibility that they may get IOUs instead of tax refunds if the budget crisis isn't resolved soon. The lower bond rating may be a warning to other states to get their budget acts together, too. And here in California, the hope is that when the financial community speaks, the governor and the legislature will listen and work out a compromise. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, San Francisco.
This other economic note, a glimpse at a financial transaction rarely seen. In New York City today, industrialist Arm & Hammer repaid part of a sizable loan he'd recently taken out from several banks. He sat down and wrote out a check for $1 billion. An autopsy confirms Teamsters financier Alan Dorfman was the victim of a gangland-style execution. The latest on that story still ahead, as well as a look at Washington madness over one of the toughest Capitol battles in years, and some old boys of summer at bat once again.
ABC's World News Tonight, brought to you by Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee.
Look who's discovered Sanka ground coffee. Bill Boak, expert lager.
You can't hurry a tough job like this. So I look forward to settling back with a pot of hot, freshly brewed coffee, especially since I've discovered Sanka ground coffee. Smells great. Real good. And it's 97% caffeine free. For me, that works.
Sanka brand ground decaffeinated coffee. Discover it.
If your taco breaks apart when you bite it, try an Ortega taco. Not only won't an Ortega taco break apart, but every crunchy bite has an authentic fresh corn taste. That's because Ortega has corn-thenticity. Corn-thenticity because Ortega's made from real corn, not processed corn flour. Crunch into an Ortega taco. It won't break apart, and it gives you the fresh corn taste of Ortega. Corn-thenticity.
Here in Chicago, Alan Dorfman, a millionaire businessman with long-standing ties to both the Teamsters Union and organized crime, was buried today. The service just hours after the medical examiner confirmed Dorfman was the victim of a professional killer. Ron Miller reports.
Alan Dorfman died from 8 .22 caliber gunshots to the head, according to Chicago's coroner, Dr. Robert Stein, who performed an autopsy on Dorfman today. Stein insists the shots were professionally inflicted.
Well, let me put it this way. I don't think an amateur could have done that.
Authorities speculate that Dorfman was killed to keep him silent. It was feared, they say, that Dorfman might cooperate with federal investigators in return for leniency in a 55-year prison sentence Dorfman faced.
I would think there would have been substantial deliberation amongst the leadership of La Cosa Nostra in the United States before the decision was made to do what was done here in Chicago yesterday.
The Chicago Sun-Times today, using unnamed federal investigators as a source, identified Anthony Panzica on the left and Frank Schweiz as prime suspects in the case. The pair are reputed underworld assassins. The FBI would not comment on the allegation. However, both men appear substantially older than the murderers described by witnesses to yesterday's crime. Dorfman was the 1,081st victim of a Chicago gangland slaying since 1919. And like the first, few officials here believe that Dorfman's murderers will be found.
I'll buy you a steak dinner if they solve this thing.
Those who monitored Dorfman's alleged multi-million-dollar illegal activities now wonder who'll take his place.
To proceed on the premise that the demise of Dorfman severs all organized crime contacts with the Teamsters Fund, I think, is wishful thinking.
Ron Miller, ABC News, Chicago.
A massive storm is causing serious problems across much of the country today, dumping snow and freezing rain from the Rockies to the East Coast. The most severe weather's in the south, where Rebecca Chase reports.
It was the single worst snowstorm ever to hit Texas, heaping a record 15 inches in some cities. In Amarillo, heavy snow caused the roof to cave in at the Levi Strauss clothing plant. All workers escaped uninjured. That Texas cold front is now heading across the rest of the South, which is still paralyzed from yesterday's storm. In Alabama and Georgia, 215,000 are without power. Utility crews are working round the clock to restore electricity. In some cities, emergency shelters were set up for those who are without heat. There have been at least 5 people killed in storm-related accidents. In Macon, Georgia, the National Guard was called out to help. In Atlanta, the nation's second busiest airport was shut down for several hours after this Delta jet, while taxiing to the terminal, skidded off the only open runway. Thousands of travelers were stranded as dozens of flights were canceled or ran several hours late. Traffic throughout the state moved at a crawl. Most businesses and schools remain closed as forecasters are predicting a 70% chance of more freezing rain. Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
A Greyhound bus, which police say was traveling at speeds of at least 75 miles an hour, smashed into the rear of a truck on the New York State Thruway near Kingston today. At least 2 of the 28 people aboard the New York to Montreal bus were killed, more than 20 injured. The bus driver's leg had to be amputated at the scene. The Chicago suburb of Cicero, with a black population of less than 1%, is being charged with illegally excluding blacks from housing and city jobs. Today's suit by the Justice Department is its first charging a city with discrimination on both counts.
What this country needs today is a really good rental truck at a really good price. So Ryder presents the $24.95 a day truck. For local rentals, this 18-foot Ryder truck is now only $24.95 a day plus a variable mileage charge. And Ryder has great rates on other size trucks too, from small vans up to giant tractors. What this country needs today is a really good rental truck at a really good price. $24.95 a day. Ryder.
Patricia Neal, don't you dare show that old picture.
It's dear Isabel years ago.
Back then, nobody I knew had arthritis. But now it seems like most everybody does.
Well, Anacin has helped people fight pain for over 50 years. Anacin blocks minor arthritis pain right at the source. Helps you move freely again for hours.
You're never too old to learn.
Fight arthritis pain and win with Anacin.
These days, people are holding on to copiers that have seen better days, or pumping hope into rebuilds to save money. But now for just $28.95, Canon gives you the one touch more. Starts instantly, makes 12 copies a minute on plain paper, reduces, enlarges, yet uses far less energy than other copiers its size. So why blow it? Get Canon's One Touch More, NP125, for just $28.95. For information, call toll-free.
The Pershing II missile apparently made its first successful test flight today at Cape Canaveral, Florida. The launch went off without a hitch, but the full results of the test won't be known until next week. The Pershing is designed to carry nuclear warheads and is scheduled for deployment in Europe later this year. The Reagan administration today certified to Congress that El Salvador has made progress on human rights. That certification is required before Congress can approve continued U.S. aid to El Salvador. $220 million has been requested by the administration, but there could still be a fight in the Congress. Senate Majority Leader Howard Baker today flew to his home state of Tennessee for the formal announcement, which was, as expected, that he will not seek re-election in 1984. But it's clear these will not be the last 2 years that Howard Baker is involved in politics. Capitol Hill correspondent Bill Greenwood has this report.
Baker had planned to reveal his decision next month, but the secret leaked out, prompting him to fly home to end the speculation at an airport news conference.
Today I would like to personally, and I suppose officially, state that I have decided not to seek a fourth term as United States Senator from the state of Tennessee.
Sources say Baker made the decision 6 months ago, but was in no hurry to be labeled a lame duck. He told friends he wants a chance to make some money in the private sector and hopes to run for president.
Well, I've made no secret of the fact that I would like to be president. I ran for presidential nomination in 1980 unsuccessfully, and perhaps someday I'll do that again. I don't deny that I would like to do that again, but I think 1984 is Ronald Reagan's year for renomination and re-election if he chooses to do so.
He's been considered presidential timber since the 1973 Senate Watergate hearings. Some say Baker's tough questions there hurt President Nixon. But his advice to President Reagan saved many a legislative battle and prompted insiders to call Baker the most effective majority leader since Lyndon Johnson. But Baker knows he can't run the Senate and run for president. And while he's given his word not to oppose Ronald Reagan in 1984, the Senate Majority Leader has made it clear that should Mr. Reagan drop out, Baker intends to jump in. Bill Greenwood, ABC News, Knoxville.
Politics aside, there are few other topics in this city that occupy the winter months like the Washington Redskins. Of course, we should mention that the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins are set to play on Sunday for the AFC Championship and a place in this year's Super Bowl. But as Britt Hume reports, this city has had its sights on the Dallas Cowboys and has long been ready for the matchup.
They're calling it Redskins fever, but that's the normal condition in a town which has been gaga over its football franchise for 20 years. A town which for 122 straight Redskin games has sold every seat in RFK Stadium and made it the noisiest place in the league.
It's bedlam, you know. You can come out of the tunnel and it's shaking and it's a little scary, a little eerie.
I don't want to get near that stadium because they still don't like me there, and I'm going to represent Dallas.
This week, though, as the team and its offensive line, nicknamed the Hogs, have practiced in relative calm outside town, the fever among the fans has approached a frenzy. It's in the taverns. It's on the radio.
Hail to the Redskins, go Mosley!
It's in the stores where Redskin paraphernalia is selling like mad.
I'll need 1,000 more of these.
You can even find it in this swanky restaurant across from the White House.
And for pasta, we make our own tortelloni.
And in the White House itself, presidential spokesman Speaks has succumbed. On Capitol Hill, where echoing the public is a way of life, the city's man in Congress has a bet down with the congressman from Dallas.
If Dallas wins, I'll wheel him onto the floor of the House in a wheelbarrow.
One reason for all this is that the game is a rematch with the elegant, polished, talented, and hated Dallas Cowboys, who beat Washington earlier this year for the 6th time in a row. So when a local television reporter ran down the street the other day with this sign, he knew what would happen. All week, the classifieds have had ads for tickets. The going price is in the hundreds of dollars. Most fans of both teams will have to watch on TV, including perhaps the most famous Redskin fan of all.
I'm going to be right in front of that TV. I'm going to pick up turn on the TV set at 12 o'clock, hear the pregame show, then no telephone calls. I've cut off all my calls. Even my family won't be able to get me. I'll be right there, glued to the TV.
10 years ago, President Nixon sent then Redskin coach George Allen a play. It lost 12 yards. So when Mr. Nixon called Redskin coach Joe Gibbs yesterday, he had only encouragement, no plays. Britt Hume, ABC News, Washington.
Is your tap water as clean as it seems? It could contain impurities you don't want your family to drink. Now Norelco can remove up to 90% of organic wastes, chlorine, synthetic detergents, and trihalomethanes. Introducing the Norelco Clean Water Machine. Unlike other filter systems, it has a unique continuous clean feature to help make your tap water taste bottled water clean, or your money back. Help fight impurities in your tap water with the Clean Water Machine, new from Norelco.
Gorton's gives you 2 ways to say,
hello, Crunchy.
Goodbye, Soggy. Hello, Crunchy. Goodbye, Soggy.
That's right. Gorton's brings you 2 great kinds of fish sticks and fillets. Crunchy with toasted breadcrumbs and potato crisp with real potato crust. Outside, they're never soggy, and inside, there's mild, flaky white fish. One taste, and you'll say,
hello, Crunchy.
Goodbye, Soggy.
Trust the Gorton's fishermen.
Sore throat? Say ah. Septic. The ah in Chloraseptic is for fast temporary relief of minor sore throat pain.
Septic.
Doctors and pharmacists have been recommending Chloraseptic for over 20 years. When your throat hurts, say ah. Chloraseptic. Liquid, lozenges, and children's Chloraseptic. Fast relief for sore throat pain.
Ah.
The secret of a fine wood finish is no secret. It's Minwax, a very trusted name in wood finishing products. See how easy it is to bring out the best color in wood with Wood Finish by Minwax. And for extra protection, take your choice of polyurethanes and other protective finishes by Minwax. The difference shows with wood finishing products by Minwax. And that's no secret.
In other national news, this country's nuclear experts went on 24-hour alert today, preparing to speed anywhere in the world to pick up any radioactive debris from that falling Soviet satellite. The Cosmos 1402 is currently some 100 miles above the Earth, and the Soviets say re-entry is now expected to be over the Indian Ocean between 6 o'clock Sunday evening and 1 o'clock Monday morning Eastern Time. This medical note, 51 days after he received the world's first permanent artificial heart, Barney Clark today received another heart. This one made out of marzipan and chocolate to celebrate his 62nd birthday. Since Clark is still recovering from this week's nasal surgery, doctors say, unfortunately, he will not get to eat it. Ted?
Tonight is the eve of the 10th anniversary of the Supreme Court's decision legalizing abortion. And as John Martin reports, that controversial decision sparked a national debate that may never end.
Not the church, not the state. Women must decide their fate.
It was part of a movement. Women wanted the right to decide whether to abort a pregnancy or to bear a child.
In this so-called democratic society, we are denied the basic human right to control our own bodies.
But other women had doubts, the feeling that the fetus was alive and too human to abort.
The unborn child has no choice. He comes into the world and he is destroyed.
By 1972, 17 states had legalized abortion. Then, on January 22, 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that the constitutional right of privacy is broad enough to encompass a woman's decision whether or not to terminate her pregnancy, in effect legalizing abortion nationwide. For many, the decision was a welcome victory.
False. It's one supported by the majority of Americans and the majority of Catholic Americans.
But for others, it was a defeat for morality.
And no court opinion can change the law of God prohibiting the taking of innocent human life.
To anti-abortion groups, it was a call to arms. Tens of thousands of people sent letters to Justice Harry Blackmun, who wrote the majority opinion.
Think of any name to call someone, and I've been called it, butcher of Dachau, murderer, Pontius Pilate, King Herod, you name it.
There were also firebombings of abortion clinics and pickets holding up pictures of dead fetuses, and campaigns. In 1976, Ellen McCormick for president. In 1978, a congressional ban on federal funds for abortion.
So the only vehicle available to at least limit the hundreds of thousands of abortions that go on in this country is to put such a restriction on federal funding.
No prohibition on abortion will stop women from having abortions, and secondly, in this country, abortions are constitutionally legal.
On an average day in America now, some 4,000 women have abortions. In 1972, perhaps 1 million women had illegal abortions. Now, 1.5 million women have legal abortions each year. Ever since 1973, the pro-abortion movement has been defending the landmark ruling, challenging in the Supreme Court just 2 months ago new laws restricting abortions in Ohio, Virginia, and Missouri. Decisions are expected this spring. So the fighting is not over, and some activists fear they may lose.
I think if the people don't fight back harder, you can kiss the abortion law goodbye and a lot of other rights goodbye, because the same people who you fight on abortion, you fight on birth control and sex education and what books you can read.
Yesterday, both sides slugged it out in a debate at the National Press Club in Washington.
It's a safe procedure because it's a legal procedure. It is not done under clandestine and illegal and unsafe conditions.
One does reduce infant mortality for such thing as a particular handicap if you can get to them while they're still in the womb and kill them first.
So it is an American standoff, and it is still being fought in the states, here in Washington, and in the minds of millions of women who face a difficult decision, one that became widely open to them just 10 years ago tomorrow. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
If you compare all the new cars for low financing and 550 protection, you'll find Ford doesn't give you both. GM doesn't. Toyota, Datsun, and Honda don't. Only Chrysler Corporation gives you both. 11.9 financing on every new 82 and 83 car, Dodge truck, every import. And 5-year, 50,000-mile protection on every new American-built car. Compare. For low financing and long 550 protection for your investment, you'll come to your Dodge or Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Mr. Post?
Need some help?
I'm your Bell System Yellow Pages representative, here to help you.
I'm in the Yellow Pages.
Look at all those trees.
10 acres. We specialize in dwarf fruit trees.
Say that in the Yellow Pages, where 4 out of 5 people let their fingers do the walking.
That is helpful.
Hi.
This is Mrs. Post.
I'm interested in all your fruit trees.
Oh, you must have a big backyard.
Get the Yellow Pages talking.
Dwarf fruit trees.
Let your fingers do the walking.
When my mom came from Kansas to see her new grandchild, we were so proud. But that night...
Lynn, with all the travel, I'm sort of constipated. And I forgot to pack our family friend.
Ta-da!
X-Lax. I knew you'd have it.
Like mother, like daughter.
Families that grew up with X-Lax like to stay with it. It's easy to take and works so gently overnight.
In this house, it's always X-Lax. Same as at home.
Chocolated X-Lax.
Make it your family friend.
Finally, even though it's a bit early for baseball spring training, a certain baseball camp in Arizona has been hosting what could only be called the boys of summer in the autumn of their years. Proof that sometimes the boy never leaves the man. Ray Gandolf has more.
63 certifiably respectable men, business and professional men for the most part, have given up a week of their lives to fulfill a kid's dream. They are the kids. This is the dream. The only requirements for this one-week fantasy camp in Scottsdale, Arizona, are a minimum age limit of $35 and $2,200. The reward is 6 days of hard work, the exuberant, half-forgotten joys of childhood, and expert tutelage by the likes of camp director Randy Hundley, who runs a baseball camp for real kids in the summer.
Catcher's back over there in the boondocks.
Billy Williams, Jose Cardinal, Ron Santo, and the still active Ferguson Jenkins, all members of the notorious '69 Chicago Cubs who blew the pennant in September.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I wouldn't pass it up for the world. It's been like a clinic, and I've had a good time. There's been a lot of good people who are as crazy as I am. I knew I was crazy, but I didn't know all these other guys were crazy, too.
I'm living out a boyhood dream. I always thought maybe I could have made the majors if I had tried a little bit harder.
Gary and Larry Arnold are identical twin brothers, Chicago businessmen. The guy with the camera is their father, Leonard Arnold. He treated the three of them to the camp.
You're playing a kid's game, and it's sort of an atavistic thing. You're going back to reliving your youth again.
Back in Chicago, Leonard Arnold is a doctor. He is also a lawyer, specializing in malpractice suits for the plaintiffs. Clearly, he is a man with sympathy for losers.
The Cub fans suffered immeasurable grief in 1969. It was something that made grown men cry when the Cubs began to blow it.
Listen, after all this pain and I can still laugh, I must be nuts, right?
Part of these Cub fans' suffering is physical. Muscles unused for decades have been stretched and bruised, sprained and strained. The trainer's room runneth over.
If the trainer worked on commission, he'd be a rich man.
But the dream is not bruised. The dream lingers.
I just want to pitch to Beckert and Santo and Williams and Banks. Just once in my life.
Today, Gary Arnold got that chance. In the grand finale, the big charity ball game between the Campers and the old Cubs, before a near sellout crowd in Scottsdale Stadium, Gary Arnold not only pitched against Ernie Banks, he struck him out.
It was fantastic. It was a dream come true.
The '69 Cubs broke 1 million hearts. This week, they mended 63 of them. Ray Gandolf, ABC News, Scottsdale, Arizona.
On Nightline tonight, we'll take another look at last week's shootout in Memphis. Our focus, the Memphis SWAT team. That's our report for now on World News Tonight. Frank Reynolds will be back at this desk on Monday. This is Ted Koppel for all of us here at ABC News. Good evening.
Coming Sunday, February 6th, it's television's most awesome achievement, a sweeping saga of an American family in love and war. Herman Wouk's masterpiece, The Winds of War, here on ABC.
Coming up on Channel 2 News, Senator Howard Baker makes it official. He will not run for re-election. We'll hear some of his reasons why and his future plans.
And the weather picture for tonight is much better than it was last night. Rob Roblin will have the complete weather outlook, and we'll have the rest of the day's news and sports next.
This is General Electric Broadcasting, Nashville. 150 people working to win you over. This is Channel 2 News at 6.